Okay na ba kami dyan, Karina?
Ito po naka-loading.
Sobrang choppy kanina.
Ayan po, meron na.
Internet mo yun, Danny.
Promise?
Malinaw kayo dito. Or RAM ng computer mo. Kasi website.
2 minutes po.
2 minutes, alis na ako dito.
Good morning, you're watching a home broadcast of BWorld Live. I'm Danny Laurel. It's 10:30 a.m. this Thursday in Manila. We're about an hour into our shortened trading week, and today is the last trading day of the month of April, and also for this entire week. Let's kick off with our top story. Another sour outlook on the Philippine economy. Now, this time it's a World Bank, or the World Bank, seeing the Philippine economy contracting by as much as 2% this year. It's not yet the official revised forecast by the lender, but World Bank economist Suleimane Coulibaly says they are currently revising that outlook, and it will definitely be downward. If that is the case, the World Bank will have one of the more pessimistic forecasts for the country. Now, recall that earlier this month, they had already halved their projection to 3% from the pre-pandemic forecast of 6.1%. Since then, all of the economic managers have said we will probably see negative growth this year. The numbers for the first quarter will be out in exactly 1 week. Now, the entire island of Luzon, which accounts for 70% of the GDP, has been under the enhanced community quarantine for the majority of the last 2 months. The government will start easing up on the lockdown in some areas starting tomorrow, but the capital will still be under ACQ. At the Business World Insights online forum yesterday, Coulibaly warned that the government might not have enough fiscal space if the fallout from the pandemic widens. PCCI President Benedicto Yuhico says businesses are likewise concerned that government financial assistance will not be sustainable. He argued that the government should allow more businesses to reopen and trust that the private sector will be responsible enough to keep the safety measures in place. Moving on to our local index, take a look at that, up by 0.5%, above 5,600, actually inching its way towards 5,700 right now, 5,674.20. This actually follows a couple of days of gains that we've already been seeing. Yesterday, we were up by 1.2%, just in step with those regional peers here. Diversified Securities' Aniceto Pangan said that there was general optimism on the idea that lockdowns could actually be eased. Now, recall that some areas will be under GCQ from tomorrow, but still, he did mention that the value turnovers are still very much lacking. They were at around 4.5 billion pesos worth of trades yesterday. That's still, according to PhilStocks, lower than the year-to-date average of 5.8 billion, showing that this rally lacks conviction. Another issue to be looking out for here, we've been saying this over and over, net foreign selling continue. I'll just pull that out for you quickly. 31st straight day in the red, net outflows yesterday worth just over 720 million pesos. Now we're going to be taking some earnings to be watching out for here. Let's kick off with Cebu Pacific, and I'll pull that out for you in my terminal. While you see on your screens here the numbers there for the first quarter 2020, swinging to a loss on the halted flights. Revenues down by 25% to 15.9 billion pesos. And take a look at that net loss of 1.18 billion pesos. That is versus the profit that they saw in the first quarter of 2019 of 3.36 billion pesos worth of profit. Not surprising here, that's on the back of passenger revenues down 27%, volumes down 17%, and also cargo revenues down a hefty 30%. Now recall, the group has been saying a lot of the pain is going to be coming still. They have canceled all their scheduled flights since March 19, but they did mention that this remains a going concern when they're talking about the COVID-19, and they have measures undertaken. They have a strong liquidity position, funding short and long term, and strong relationships with their major suppliers. But take a look at my terminal here and how Cebu Pacific has simply just slid since the lockdown was imposed here. I want to just check in on their year-to-date performance here as we open our market, seeing them in the red. Cebu Pacific down by 1 peso and 40 centavos. That's down by 2.8% as markets continue to digest this news. Another one that has broken its earnings is RRHI. That is, of course, a sister Gokongwei company. Another one that people are closely watching out for here, especially since they do have, on the one hand, retail shops, but they also have a lot of supermarkets here and drugstores that remain open. So a lot watching out for this. Take a look at your screens. Robinsons Retail, first quarter net income, 923 million pesos. That is up a hefty 45%. That is on the back of net sales up 7.3% to 40.1 billion. If you take away the Robinsons Bank stake, then core net income is still up by 33%. Now, only essential retail formats have remained open. So that's supermarkets, drugstores, convenience stores. But they actually had very high contributions from Rustans, which they had consolidated late last year and earlier on this year. They said that they gained 40 basis points of operating income margin because of Rustans. Now, RRHI's same-store sales growth for the supermarkets was up a record 18.7%. Drugstores up by 13.7% in the first quarter, saying basically that there was, a lot of panic buying that ensued ahead of the ECQ. And even if only 40% of their stores are open, that's actually comprising 77% of their revenues. Another bright spot for them is Robinsons Malls, of course, starting to reopen in areas that will be downgraded to the GCQ starting tomorrow. Very quick check on the share price of RRHI. Markets enjoying a bit of that news as they digest those earnings. It is trading up by 2.5% to 66 pesos and 60 centavos this morning. More on markets later on in the broadcast. Moving on to headlines. We're watching this Thursday. The Trade Department will review the pricing of food delivery services. That's after a surge in demand of their services during this ECQ. Now, Trade Secretary Mon Lopez says the agency has received complaints about some delivery service providers overcharging their customers. Worse, those offering less expensive services become unavailable during the periods of high demand. But Lopez explains that providers use different pricing schemes, with some imposing fixed fees and others charging a percentage of the bill as a delivery fee. He adds that the government cannot intervene right away when there is competition in the business. Still, the department has urged businesses to itemize their prices to make delivery fees more transparent. Now, Lopez said trade officials will need a week to review the pricing schemes of these food delivery services to find out if there are objectionable cases of overcharging amid the current global pandemic. The government has been borrowing money left and right to fund its response to this pandemic, but the finance department says the country's debt to GDP ratio is expected to remain under 47%. Finance Secretary Sonny Dominguez said most taxes will remain healthy when they eventually come in. He also adds that VAT payments are expected to take the hit from the outbreak and the resulting lockdown. Dominguez said this will be offset by the income taxes, which are bound to reflect last year's strong economy. Recall that the deadline for tax payments has been suspended as the lockdown measures disrupted normal operations. But once those collections do roll in, Dominguez said, it will help the government hit its targets in terms of debt to GDP ratio. Average land values in Metro Manila's central business districts are expected to drop by 15%, or 5 to 15% rather, by the last quarter. This was reported by Colliers International, noting that major business districts may take a hit that's due to the slump in real estate demand amid this pandemic. Specifically, Colliers sees Makati Central Business District posting a record 10% drop in land value to over 770,000 pesos per square meter. That's by the fourth quarter. Now, land values in Fort Bonifacio are also expected to decline by 10% to 745,000 pesos per square meter. In Manila Bay Area by 15% to 332,000 pesos per square meter, and in Ortigas Center by 5% to 337,000 pesos per square meter. Now, the property consulting firm is also expecting a rise of up to 5.5% in office vacancy. That is with the gradual recovery coming in next year as well as in 2022. And to kickstart that recovery, Colliers Philippines said the office sector will have to rely on outsourcing tenants and traditional firms that still maintain operations. Colliers also urges the government to lift the moratorium on new economic zones in Metro Manila in order to attract global companies. This global pandemic is affecting every single person and every single sector here in the economy, pushing us to look for opportunities beyond what we are doing as of the moment. Here to join with us and share one such opportunity, which is ESL, or English as a Second Language, we have with us Ms. Jennifer Ke. She's the country head of 51 Talk, which is a New York Stock Exchange listed company. Good morning, ma'am, and welcome to the broadcast.
Hi, good morning, Danny. Thank you for inviting me to the show.
Ma'am, it's really interesting for us to be interviewing someone like you, especially since we just came out of, some advice, particularly from iMoney Philippines, that, this might be a really good opportunity during this pandemic, looking into the ESL industry. Before we start looking into that, can you give us a general overview of your firm, of 51 Talk, and a normal day operations and what its presence is here in the Philippines?
All right. So before anything else, let me introduce 51 Talk stands is homophonous to in Chinese. I want to talk. So it's a Beijing-based company, and it's been in the Philippines since about 7 to 8 years now. We have more than 20,000 home-based online English teachers in the for currently, and they're all at home away from
Mhm.
the COVID 19 virus. And then we got listed in NYSE last 2017. And last quarter, not this quarter, but 2019, Q4 was the most profitable quarter we've had in the history of 51 Talk. and it's actually
Okay.
the most profitable ESL company in the in China. Yeah,
Very interesting. So, ma'am, you're targeting Chinese students. Basically, it's
correct,
fully
correct.
sort targeting Chinese students, and you have the teachers here in the Philippines working from home. So, how is this? Are you doing as well the technology part here, or is it really more the teachers part that is Philippine based?
So 51 Talk has a proprietary platform called Air Class, and this
Okay.
was home built in China, and it's actually a a teaching or an education platform that teachers just come online and then conduct their lessons where they can see their the lessons that the student booked, and they have a teaching
Okay.
guide that can guide them to teach. So all the lessons are in video, actually. So
Okay,
it's a
very interesting. So the technology was developed in China, and you have the skilled teachers here working from home. Can
yes,
you
yes.
actually give us an idea of the growth of this industry, how relevant it has become in this globalized world? To what extent have we tapped the demand, and how leading is the Philippines when it comes to ESL?
Okay, so from an industry standpoint, no, this is really a growing industry. It's a 2 billion USD industry, and it's growing
Okay.
on 15% year on year. So it's quite and there's a lot of student growth as well on 20% year on year as well.
Okay, so a lot of growth in this sector. Tell us about the people that are teaching. So you mentioned you have 20,000 people. Are these people that are doing it full time, part time? As I mentioned, a lot are looking into different opportunities right now presented by COVID. How easy is it to be an ESL teacher, or how difficult actually? I mean, do they need to be taking exams, doing a lot of upskilling in terms of technology to be able to join your platform?
So what 51 Talk takes pride of, especially also in China, is that Filipinos are the chosen teachers because they're the best as far as our CEO is concerned. He went around and searched the world and found that the Filipinos are the best. Why Filipinos? Because they smile a lot. They're happy people. We're beautiful people. Second is we
Uh-huh.
also, we are very dynamic and entertaining. So we like to be, we like to always like a show, right? Because most of our students are kids, so they need to have really
Okay.
fun teachers. And then our teachers are also our Filipinos are also quite maternal. Even though the male, no, they really care about kids naturally, and the culture
Okay.
of the Filipinos is almost compatible with Chinese because we all have Chinese food. We know Chinese culture, so it's very it's natural basically for Filipinos. And then of course our English language. We learn English as well growing up, and so we can be experts in terms of teaching. So we don't require teachers. We don't require our teachers to have experience because 51 Talk also takes pride in providing free training to the teachers on the get go before they go live to become teachers. We already train them. They undergo training, and then they can and then even after they go live, they still have so much more training to advance their teaching skills with different kinds of age and language level of the kids. Now, how to become a teacher with 51 Talk? First, you have to be, of course, a graduate, right? College graduate, and then you have the passion, of course, to teach children. That's really important. So your patience will really be tested
Mhm.
with the kids. And of course, you have to have the good English communication skills because it's all about teaching English. And then, so similar to the shared economy, you have to have the internet, good internet like yours, Danny, and then a good laptop with, because all the lessons are in video. And then, like yours, a quiet, not distracting background, a very conducive teaching background. And then your schedule. So part time or full time. So it's kind of because the children in China are back in school, right? So but they are in an online kind of school. Some of them physically in school, some of them are in online schools. So we do need the teachers only in the evening and weekends, right? So or early morning is the when we need the teachers. So it's kind of part-time. It's and but Of course, some students want to have more lessons with the teacher. And the advantage of being in the Philippines is the time zone is the same. So children can have more lessons with their favorite teacher.
Okay, thank you for that. Tell us, ma'am, how has the COVID affected what you're doing? It seems that you're actually the perfect industry that was built for working from home ahead of this. So, in theory, there shouldn't have been any disruption. Is that really the case? But have you seen numbers of students actually increasing during this time?
Yeah, we did see a surge of a lot of students, especially when China was in a lockdown. So from late January to Feb and March, we did see a surge of students coming online, and the 5-1 talk also we shared the platform to the schools in China. So our CEO shared our air class platform. So there were more students coming online to join to have lessons with our teachers.
Okay, ma'am, can you give us advice in terms of e-education and e-learning and what your experience has taught us about e-learning? Is this something that can completely replace face-to-face interactions with students? Is this the new normal? Is this something that is, interesting for a certain period of time only or for certain subjects like English? Or is this something that can be rolled out towards any form of learning?
All right. So my personal opinion, Danny, because we saw this in China when during the lockdown, schools continued with an online way. So, but the challenge here in the Philippines is, of course, the technology and the infrastructure that it's not fully ready, and that's why even us, when we were looking for teachers, we hope that the teachers have all the connectivity available to them, and if they're connected and they're good teachers, they can really come online. So can it replace the classroom? I think it can supplement for now, because we still have to train a lot of teachers to also conduct lessons. And the difference between probably in 5-1 talk, it's a one-on-one. So in a classroom setting, it's very difficult to get all the students. So
Okay.
I wouldn't say it will completely replace the classroom, but maybe it will definitely supplement the classroom setting.
And you talked about of camp a yellow collar community. What exactly do you mean by this, and what is the advocacy you have here?
So we have an advocacy here where we said, because we everybody understands blue collar, white collar, and for the last 5 years we've been kind of pushing home based online English livelihood to our teachers, to our all our candidates. And we want to be recognized like, hey, we have the digital workforce here, and we'd like to have our own color. So we tagged it as yellow color initiative. And recently we actually got awarded for this yellow color initiative because we were in partnership with the ICT in providing livelihood to the very far-flung areas and deep areas of the provinces. And we were able to provide livelihood
Okay,
for them. So this is what it is, our award. Yes.
ma'am. uh, Okay, so not just in Metro Manila, but also outside of Metro Manila. Can you give us a sense of where your people are located? Actually, does it matter that they're in NCR? And also, we were talking earlier on about the infrastructure, and you said that not everyone has the level that we need to be able to work from home. In this COVID period, have you seen that it's been good enough, or there's still a lot that needs to be done?
Um, it's actually surprising that we have expanded outside of the NCR. So it's there in Mindanao, Davao, all the way to Basilan, and then here all the way up to in the north, all the way up to Gigarao and Kawayan, Isabela. So it's been where the fiber is, where the connections are. That's where our teachers are.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And just before I let you go, please tell our viewers here how to sign up if they want to become an online ESL teacher. Where do they go? How do they go about this? How long can they expect to get on board?
All right. So we have our website, 51talk.ph, or come to the official Facebook page of 51talk, 51talk Philippines, and then sign up there. A screener or recruiter will be in touch in the next 24 to 48 hours. And given that everybody's in lockdown now, I believe the processing can be faster. Maybe in 3 days, teachers can go live and be prepared, for training, for, be a sponge, learn as much as you can. And this industry is looking for more and more teachers. And actually, Danny, I may have forgotten to say that we are on our way to like 100,000 teachers. And so
Wow.
we are on track, of course, in growing to that. And this year, we want to grow to 30,000 more teachers. So it's a great opportunity to jump in and to join 51 Talk, and you will love the platform, really, not just like it, you will love it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was, of course, Jennifer Ke of 51 Talk. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us in this broadcast and giving us some positivity on other opportunities that are actually out there and can easily be done after, as little as 3 days, actually, for these new opportunities. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Danny.
Okay, so kicking off our markets outlook, we're just gonna have a quick check on BWorld because we were talking earlier on about the property sector and how that might be taking a hit amid this pandemic, especially in terms of the business districts like Makati, Fort Bonifacio, and even Ortigas. Let's take a quick check of BWorld, which has just reported their full year net income. That's at 17.9 billion pesos. That's up 18%. This, of course, is as of 2019. So it's still a lot to be seen on how the first quarter of 2020 will actually be going. But if it's any indication, at least for our viewers here, the full year revenue was up 17% last year to 67.3 billion pesos. That's on the back of rental revenues of 16.8 billion pesos. I just want to take a quick peek on my terminal here on how BWorld is doing amid all of these issues. Property space has been so volatile as of late. Take a look at that. It's actually enjoying a bump up together with the rest of the local boards. It's up by 1.6% to 2 pesos and 61 centavos. Now, I'm just going to take a quick step back here and see how our global equities are performing. I just wanted to do a little note on how the US actually performed overnight because you can see all three indices in Wall Street. Check out the NASDAQ, for instance. That's up by 3.6%. Major gains there. That's after Microsoft, Facebook, and Tesla had announced their results. And this amid the Fed Reserve actually saying that they're seeing medium to long-term risks to growth. Medium-term risks to growth. Plus, they also announced in the US that their GDP for the first quarter shrank by 4.8%. But analysts had expected this, according to analysts surveyed by Bloomberg. And also, they said that markets had actually brushed this off. So you could see the S&P 500 gaining, to a 7-week high here. And this amid another good thing in terms of the virus. There is Gilead Sciences saying that its experimental drug has helped COVID-19 patients recover faster. A lot of analysts looking very closely at that particular company. And as it tries and makes a vaccine for COVID-19, meanwhile, global stocks are actually up by 11% this month. A lot of activity is starting to resume all over the world. Quick check on Asia Pacific. Just to note that Hong Kong and Seoul are shut for a holiday, but you can actually see the Topix up by 1.5%, Nikkei 225 as well, 2.6% up. So we are basically rallying together with the rest of Asia. We're going to also be checking in on the Chinese PMI, which should have broken already earlier on today. Now, other earnings to break very quickly here, the Aboitiz companies. Let's kick off with Aboitiz Power because their net income for the first quarter has dropped by a massive 42%. That is 2.1 billion pesos. And that's on the back of power demand, seeing a drop of 40% just in Luzon. So taking a quick peek at Aboitiz Power here, they have also reviewed their spending plan that was supposed to be 41 billion pesos. And as of course, they said that the customers have declared force majeure. AP, meanwhile, trading flat here at 27 pesos and 50 centavos. Let's take a quick peek at their parent company, AEV, of course. Also, their net income for the first quarter is at 2 billion pesos. Of course, the Aboitiz Power unit is basically the chunk of that. That's around 55% of the total income. But interestingly, their banking unit, so that is, of course, Union Bank, which had, surprised some analysts on the upside. That bank accounted for 46% of the total revenue of the entire parent company, but the non-listed food units income contribution was actually down by 56% year on year. Another one that didn't perform too well, real estate, that was a net loss of 110 million pesos in the first quarter. And Republic Cement, however, is at 61 million pesos versus what it had as a loss a year ago. Incidentally, the AEV has slashed this year's budget of capex as well by 36%. The bulk of their cuts, infrastructure and power, and very interestingly, they are reviewing what to do with the airports, which they have proposed to upgrade and operate. And just, to close on SSI, one more retailer here that I wanted to take a quick peek at. They have, this retailer, of course, owns, top luxury brands. So Gucci, Prada, Zara, for example, but also food like Shake Shack and Salad Stop. They mentioned that they see last year's performance, which was double-digit increases, as proof that their consumers have a strong brand affinity. So they're still very optimistic on that, but they are using their gains from last year, which they call financial gains, in a prudent manner. Just a quick peek on how SSI is performing amid that statement that they're still optimistic on a rebound that is up by 5.4% this trading day. That's a first look into the business day. Today is Thursday, April 30, 2020. Catch us again on Monday, 10:30 a.m. Have a nice long weekend. I'm Danny Laurel, and we are One News.